So I listen to a lot of game music, of course, and I like searching for new game music to listen to. And of course, the first place that I go to find game music, as I'm sure many of you do, is YouTube. Now, there are several established channels that are known for uploading high-quality rips of game music to YouTube. One of these goes by the name Gilvasunner. But in the past couple months, there's been another channel that's popped up recently with a name that looks exactly like Gilvasunner's and the same avatar. He uploads videos with the same style, the same visual style and title and description as Gilvasunner. But in the middle of these songs, he trolls you, basically. Usually the song will get mashed up with something else, or like a rap song will be overlaid onto it, or if possible, the melody will be changed to be something else, usually something from a meme. I was looking through this channel one day, and I came across a mashup of the All-Star Rest theme from Super Smash Bros. 4, and a song that you probably know from Shrek.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kind of dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Well, the years start coming and they don't stop coming.
But the interesting thing about this is that the melody fits perfectly over this song, even though the chords are entirely different from the original version. This is called reharmonization, and reharmonization is basically the idea of taking a melody, and what you do is you reharmonize it by taking the harmony and changing it, altering it to be different chords that still are related to the melody in some way. So for example, say we have a melody that incorporates an E and a C, okay? And let's say the original harmony was an A minor chord. This makes sense because C and E are part of an A minor chord, but C and E are also part of a D dominant ninth chord. So in theory, you could have a D9 chord playing there instead of an A minor, and it would still fit. That's the idea behind reharmonization. You take your melody, you look at it, these notes fit over this chord, but what other chords do these notes fit over? And try things out. This is a wonderful thing for game composers because it allows you to present your motif or theme in a different environment. This can be done in the middle of a song, or in soundtracks it can be done throughout multiple pieces. So you might take the same melody and arrange it with different harmony in different tracks, depending on the mood, the theme, what's going on. So this mashup here, however silly it is, it provides a wonderful example of how reharmonization is done right, even though it's a pure coincidence that this works. So what I've done here is I've analyzed this melody, both over the original chord progression and over the chord progression in the All-Star Rest Area theme. Now, of course, this melody has been altered slightly from the original version. None of the notes have been changed, but the tempo has been slowed down to match the All-Star Rest Area theme, and it's been adjusted a semitone upwards to match the key, because the original song is in the key of F sharp, the All-Star Rest Area is in the key of G, so the keys have been adjusted to work together and the tempos match. Other than that, the melody has not been altered whatsoever, and the All-Star Rest Area theme has not been altered at all. So basically, any note can be categorized one of two ways over a chord. The first category is chord tones. So these are notes that are inherently a part of the chords that are being played under it. So for example, over a C chord, C, E, and G are chord tones because those are notes that are part of the chord itself. I've labeled all of these in red on this score. You also might notice an asterisk under some of these. These are marking anticipation notes. These are notes that are playing just a bit ahead of the chord changes. In any case, all of these red notes are chord tones. These are the notes that are going to fit the closest to the harmony. They're going to make the most sense, and they're going to be the best fitting. The second category is non-chord tones. Any note that's not a part of the chord is a non-chord tone. And I've separated these into two subgroups. First you have extensions, what I like to call extensions. These are notes that I've marked in blue. These are notes that are not part of the chord, but they're closely enough related that you can consider them extensions, natural extensions of the harmony, and they still sound pretty good. The other category is avoid tones. These are notes that you want to avoid, notes that don't sound very good over this chord. If you want to analyze this melody, I will be putting these up on the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/OngakuConceptVGM, but for right now, don't worry so much about that. Basically, all these red notes are chord tones, and all these blue notes are notes that still work over these chords. There are 47 notes in this verse section. 32 of these are chord tones in the original arrangement, whereas only 26 of them are chord tones in the Smash mashup. So of course, it's harmonized closer in the Shrek version, but I wouldn't say that the Smash one sounds bad. In fact, most of these extensions, most of these non-chord tones are actually passing notes, notes that are not as important, being used as steps from one important note to another. These are kind of insignificant, not notes that are really paid a lot of attention to. Despite that, I think the most significant point would be over this first A minor 7 chord, and you have the D and B playing. These are not chord tones, but they are extensions of the harmony, and they still sound pretty good. In fact, looking at the avoid tones that I've marked in yellow, the original arrangement actually has more of these than the Smash version. Technically, you could say that the Smash version is actually harmonized better than the original because it has fewer avoid tones. Even the C-sharp half diminished chord in the middle has the most important note there is G, which still fits over the chord, and my personal favorite is right at the end. You have a D flat 7, flat 5. I don't hear the third in there, so it's like a D7 flat 5, flat, no third. It's used as a passing chord to move downwards chromatically from the D7 down to C major 7. And that hits right at the moment that he says, well. And he sings that at a G, which still fits perfectly over the chord. It's actually one of the chord tones. And I think it's one of the most hilariously amazing sounding examples of reharmonization here. Now, you might look at this and you might say, this is a bit of a cheap example, a bit of an easy one. I mean, none of the notes in the melody are outside of the key, and for the most part, the chords stay inside of the key. And so you might say, well, you could take any melody and any chord progression from two different songs, put them in the same key, and match the tempos up, and they'll probably sync up. And you might be right in saying that. But that's not a bad thing. I think, if anything, you should be encouraged, because you can do almost anything you want. You can take the same melody and harmonize it a dozen different ways. And what that means is that you have many, many, many different options when looking for ways to harmonize a melody. So I would encourage you to use that as an opportunity to experiment. Get to know a little bit about how chords are built, and see what you can do to see how can you fit a melody over a new chord progression. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you want to know more about reharmonization within a single song, I did a video on that a little while back, which you can find right up here. And if you want to know more about chord function, I did a video on that comparing it to RPG classes, which you can find right about there. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the comments or email me at ongakuconcept@gmail.com. If you want to find these charts and study them more, I'll be posting them in the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/ongakuconceptvgm. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.